Well, hey guys, welcome to the studio. Today, we just finished up my 10th studio build. I learned a few things. I screwed a few things up. Here's my top 3 do's and don'ts when building and designing a studio. Let's get to it. When I did this build, I screwed up quite a few things. Here's my top 3. Number 3, your time estimate. If you think it's going to take a certain amount of time for you to complete a build, double it. I thought I could have this entire build done in 3 weeks. It took 6 weeks. If you can get helpers to help, get helpers to help. The other thing that set me back, I think, was the holidays. And also, I did hire some professionals, electricians and a plumber, to come in and do a lot of that work. I probably should have hired more professionals, and I probably should have reached out to my buddies to see if I could get more help doing it. And even with that, it's going to go over, so just expect that. Which brings me to my number 2 screw up. You have to be ready to adapt. I was really sticking to the plans, and if you've been following this channel, you know we had this whole studio rendered in 3D. We had reached out to an acoustician, Ethan Weiner, who helped us with the design. And up here you can see, I used to have the bathroom up here built into an adjacent room, and where did it end up? It ended up being in this room, right here. As a matter of fact, when you look over my shoulder, this is what you're used to seeing behind me, and that's the bathroom right through that door there. Now, there's reasons why I did not want the bathroom in the main studio, but when it came down to it, I had to essentially knock through a concrete wall if I wanted to put it in the other room. And I was reminded of something that my acoustician, Ethan Weiner, had told me, which was if you can get your rear wall to have varying lengths, as opposed to you drop back 23 feet and there's a rear wall. He said, you know, if you can have some of it drop back 23 feet and some of it drop back 20 feet, that's actually a huge help to your acoustics. It was difficult for me to adapt a lot of things as I went along, and I fought against them. I should have been more open to the idea. So that was screw up number 2. If you're following us on our Facebook group, Recording Tips, which you should join if you have not, you already know what my number 1 screw up was. Don't shoot a nail gun through a hot water pipe. I will say no more than that. Except to say, make sure you have a first aid kit around, and make sure you have a backup plan, and preferably someone else who might be home to help you. That was screw up number 1. So for all the stuff I did wrong, that was the top 3. But what about the stuff that I think that I did right for this build? Well, one thing that I did before I moved from the old location into this location was I cleaned everything. I properly maintained everything. All the guitars had a fresh set of strings. I even sprayed Windex on a cloth and pulled every single cable through it. I took a pressurized air hose and I blew out all the dust from inside my components, like computers and rack mount gear, all that stuff. When I set up here, everything was clean, shiny, and ready to go. And that's going to save you a lot of hassle after you're done with all your work. The second thing I think that I did correctly was I had a budget set up to do this properly. Now, you can probably tell if you've been watching the videos of the build. Yeah, I spent some money doing this. You know from previous videos, I bought 20 bales of rock wool. That was $1,000. I was budgeted for that. All the lumber, all the professionals that I had to hire to come in, like an electrician, a plumber, for this particular space, those were things that I was not comfortable attempting on my own. I had that worked into my budget. And I want to put it to you like this. Let's say my job is I run a flower shop and I want to make deliveries. Well, if I'm looking at delivery vans, I'm probably looking at like one of those little Ford things or something, and they're probably about $25,000. And that's probably a good investment for me as a flower shop to make sure that I have a good, decent, reliable, warranted delivery vehicle, and not to skip on that part of the budget. My total build here, all told, was about 15K. It seems like a lot of money, but I do this for a living. I take what I do here very seriously. I didn't want to have necessarily old furniture or old looking or beat up or halfway done anything. Make sure that you have the money to spend. And if you're doing this for a living, if you're especially in this economy with a lot of virtual and stuff, there's no shortage of business. If you can save up that amount of money ahead of time when you do your rebuild, you don't have to do anything as extensive as what you saw me do here. I have a certain level that I want this studio to look and function like, and so I was willing to spend that amount of money. Maybe your budget is $2,000 or $5,000 or even $400, anything that you're going to do. But stick to your budget, know what your budget is, and have reasonable expectations. And the number one thing I think I did right, dun dun dun, I called this gentleman right here. His name is Ethan Weiner. He's an acoustician. He's the author of the book, The Audio Expert. He's co-owner at Real Traps. And what he will do is he will do a consultation with you. He charges $200. He will save you that in materials alone, just helping you design the studio properly. It is money well spent. You should spend it. Now, honorable mention goes to doing testing and calibrating everything that you can in your studio and checking it all out. Ethan Weiner was my consultant when I did the studio, so I had a good expectation that my charts would look pretty decent. They're pretty flat. What you're seeing here in blue is Yamaha HS5s with a Behringer K10S subwoofer, and in green you're seeing Kali LP8s. Both of them work very well in the room because the room is correct. We have a whole video on REW and waterfall testing. I highly recommend it if you're interested in getting a chart. And this is what the waterfall chart looks like for this room. Again, we have a whole video on it, so I'm not going to spend any time on it. But I have to thank my acoustician, Ethan Weiner. Without him, there's no way that I would have all my frequencies die out that quickly with no ring, and so I don't have problems when I'm monitoring with all kinds of interfering frequencies and that type of stuff. They don't have time. They've all died out, even the bass. Let me leave you with this. Some studios, especially back in the 80s, 90s, and even before that, had million-dollar budgets when they were getting built. The equipment is so good now. You know what kind of equipment I'm running in here. It's nothing amazing. I'm using a Behringer interface. I'm using $16 microphones that I got on Amazon from Pile. I do also have a couple, I guess, half-decent microphones. Nothing in here is one of those super high-budget things. But spending money on the room, you can spend money on the room and you can get great results. And the equipment nowadays is so much more pristine and accurate than the equipment was even 10 years ago, and especially over 20 years ago. You can put out radio quality stuff like me out of a basement, and you can do this professionally. How can you find out more? Well, if you're on Facebook, check out our group, Recording Tips. Some of the best home studio hobbyists, couple professionals, a couple very, very serious individuals in there, and a lot of people just starting out or having some basic skills. It's okay to ask questions. We love it. And you'll always get the straight answer from the folks in the group. I'd appreciate if you come out. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to my channel? It helps me lure in new experts if they see I have a couple followers. You can help the channel by clicking subscribe. We got a lot of work to do. Let's get to it. Hey. Oh, man. You know what? I got to say, this is probably the final video that I'm going to do that has to do with the building of this studio. So I think there's about a half dozen videos from design that we did full 3D rendering. We did the consultation with Ethan Weiner, which is the only reason that this room works. Then we did the build out, and I see Chris Thackeys here visiting. And he was here loading in bales of rock wool, and he insulated the whole ceiling. And Chris, I cannot thank you enough. Up to then we did all the testing and all the REW and all the charts. And at that point, there was an early set of charts that I put up in our Facebook group, recording tips, which really seriously, guys, join that. Beginner, intermediate, expert. Ask whatever you want. There's probably somebody there who can give you some information. But we did the early set of charts, and I had sent them off to Ethan, and I said, look, here's the early set of charts. And God love him, he's like, you need to do this and this. And I made the changes that he talked about. That's why there's a new set of charts in this video that's different than the charts that you see. Even in our little 54-second studio tour video, the charts changed after talking to Ethan, and he had me do a couple changes. So this is probably the finale. I think I really want to start getting into more mixing technique, recording ideas, possibly even like songwriting. I want to talk more about mastering too. Some of these things I know this much about, and some of these I know a little bit more about, and I know a little bit less about. But by all means, guys, in our Facebook group, I look at those topics and I respond to those topics, and that's a great launching point for these Sunday night shows, Sundays at 10:15 p.m. EST. Brian says the $16 mics are worth almost $40 now. Yeah, you know what? I keep calling them the $16 mic. They're SM57 clones from Pyle, Pyle, on Amazon, and yeah, they're up over $30 now. But I mean, you could still buy 3 of them for the price of a 57. And when we were doing mic shootouts with like mic experts, including a couple people who are in this room right now, and being blind testing, they all said it was a better mic than a 57. I own both. I own those, and I own a real 57. I reach right past the 57 to grab one of those Pyle mics more than half of the time. They're just really good mics. THM, who complimented my charts. Thank you very much. Very cool, man. Very inspiring. Thank you. Joe Breitenbach. And that $25,000 van is now $40K. You know what? I never really priced out the van. One thing I forgot to say in the video was the reason that I brought up the idea of the florist buying himself a decent van to deliver flowers is to kind of put it in context for this being a business, a full-time business. I've been doing this for 20 years full-time. An investment in your business in the neighborhood of $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, especially if you're going to get years and years and years out of it. If I let's say I get 8 years out of this studio, that means it costs me about $2,000 per year to run it, which is, what is that, about $150 a month? About $5 a day. So it costs me about $5 a day to live in this build. And for what I'm charging hourly for my clients, not hard to make that back. But it's an investment. Chris, what a great and educational time helping you out. Steve and Hero's a couple hours away. Yeah, he drove all the way out here with his girlfriend Izzy to help do the build. We actually had a very cool Zoom phone call yesterday, and Joe Breitenbach was also on, and John Drummer, Mark Weertz from Netherlands was on, and we were talking about workflow in Ableton. You never know what kind of topics are going to come up. You guys are the best. I'm really excited to be back out live Sunday nights. This is our thing. And, if you have anything going on, all week long, we got recording tips and Facebook, and I'm sure I'll see all you guys there. I can't even tell you how excited I am to be back live in this room, because it's just what I was shooting for. It's what I really wanted to do. All right. We're going to continue this discussion in the Facebook group. We got actually a few cool projects going on there. Joe, I need to compliment you on the guitar parts that you sent over for the new song. I actually just sent a recent mix of it over to Travis. He wants to do the mastering on it. There's a lot of collaboration going on in the group, and everybody's in everybody else's face in business, and it's fun. God, I need a haircut. Look at this mop. I'll find a barber up here at some point. Anyway, we got a lot of work to do.